Okay, let me add one more page here. All right. So just to summarize, there are a lot of important things that we discussed. We started with understanding the concept of whoops and why we should apply it. And the second thing is how properties and functions are important in OOPs and how they are associated with the classes. So we understood the differences between uh, props, functions, and classes. We try to understand how Chrome's developer tools works, dev tools, and these developer tools are very important for us to debug the information uh, on our you know debug the information or try to understand how the data is flowing and also everything about our application, right? And next we try to understand what is local storage, and we also try to access uh, information from the local storage, and we were able to understand how you can check for the information in the local storage. And then we understood what is JSON and how important it is, especially JSON parse. This is one function that we came across. There are a few more functions that we discussed during this session. Okay, so JSON parse, add event listener, and we also saw one important function, that is dot push. Push, basically what it does is, let me just give you one example. Let us say I have a variable called let a is equal to 1, 2, 3. So this represents a is an array. And if I say a dot push 4, then a would become 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is one of the important function that we use. So 4 gets added at the end of this array. That is push. So opposite of this would be uh, you know uh, where you can add the information at the start. So please try to discover what that function is. What is the opposite of push? Push adds the element at the end of the array. Well, then what is the function that does the opposite, which adds at the start? So these are array functions, and array functions, just to mention, array functions of JavaScript. So we must be, I don't focus on things that you need to memorize because I'll just give you references. But because I can't, going through each and every function doesn't make sense, right? You understand, once you understand push or something related to it, you can easily go try understand the syntax. I focus on mostly why things are used and how you need to do the hands-on. That's my major focus would be on.
Yes, sure.
Right. So yes, yes, Adit.
Yeah, sure, sure. That works actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So array
Going with
functions is
with
something that we need to go through, and also arrow functions. Arrow function is different. Arrow function just talks about, the way you write a function. So okay. So and again you have these function. Oh, sorry. You have these functions which are the arrow functions. Arrow functions are the new way of writing JavaScript functions, ES6 and ES5. Understanding the differences between ES6 and ES. These are all concepts. Okay. Now coming back to our code, I'm going back to the code. We'll just try to continue from where we left and try to dig more into uh, the application itself. So This was, I hope you're able to see my screen. No, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
can see.
be visible now. Okay. All right. 1 second. All right. So this was our file, and we understood the properties that are related to to-do list and the corresponding functions that are here. Okay. So now what exactly happens? You need to understand the beginning of the application, right? What happens first? I mean, as soon as, see, if I want to load this application, what I'm doing is I'm just going to this, there are two ways to open it. Either you can right click on this index.html and then, right click on index.html and open it in 5 server. Means it basically creates a server for our application to run, and it opens it in the browser. That is one way to open a HTML file. Or you can directly go to the folder, and then you can uh, just double click on the index.html file, whichever default browser you have, you can open it. This is one way. So now the question is, what is happening as soon as you uh, open the application is what we'll try to understand, and that is important. So index.html in any project, be it React, Angular. So this is a common notation. It's not like you should be using the word index all the time, but you can use home.html or root.html, whichever makes sense. You can use it, but the universal notation that developers use across the world to develop web applications is the first page that you are going to use. It would be named as index.html. Okay, so here we have index.html. As soon as we double click on it, what happens is it just opens HTML as a file, just like the way you open let's say you're opening a profile on your Microsoft Word. What happens? Your profile or your resume is a document, and it is a set of information which is getting opened or shown or rendered to you using an application called Microsoft Word. Similarly, HTML is a document, and most of the times we use the word document, right? It's just a simple document with a structure with some extra features, just not like a static Word document or a PDF document. So it opens it in a browser. Browser is the software that you basically use to open it. So as soon as we do that, the first thing that happens is it renders this HTML, and then it loads this JavaScript file. It loads it, or whichever JavaScript file is attached here. So essentially, you're just attaching the JavaScript file. You're saying that, okay, the corresponding functionality for this HTML would be handled in script/to-do.js. Okay. So this was explained in recording number 2, day 2. You can go there and refer to it. We already discussed about this. So now what happens is, where is the beginning? How do we start exactly is, so in this file, I can see two classes, right? Just two classes. But the thing is, as I told you, the difference between class and function is something that runs, or that creates something, or it is an action, it is a verb. Function is always a verb. But class is not a verb. Class is just a collection of things. It is like a bag of toys, you can say, right? But if you want to move this bag of toys, or move one toy from, or use a toy for any purpose, let's say, or any article in that bag for any purpose, you use functions. But what is it that is enabling me to get started is the question. So your execution basically starts from here. As soon as you open the index.html file in your browser, okay, let me show you here. So this is my application, right? Go to sources, as we saw. One second. Where is my HTML? Okay, sorry, I got closed it. Yeah. If you go to scripts, you have to do. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm keeping. See, I just want to. I don't know. I don't know anything about JavaScript, but I know how to debug. Okay. So I just want to understand what is that function, or what is that line that is getting executed for the first time. Where is it getting started? Okay, let's try to understand first. So I kept my debugging points, or my debugger points, in 146, which is to do. And I'm keeping my debugger point in each and every function inside, or at the beginning of each and every function. Yeah, here, and here. Okay, I almost kept it everywhere, in every function. Okay, let us now try to understand the sequence, and also we will try to see uh, some debugging tips here. Okay, now I'm reloading it, means I'm trying to start the application from the beginning. I reloaded it. See where it came to the first time. It came to line number 146. It doesn't start from the beginning. Why? Because there is no function written there. Let us say if you see, even sometimes you can edit the code here and write something, try stuff out. Okay, I just want to see key, see, it didn't even come to this line number 3, which is a kind of beginning of the class, right? Let us say, for example, I'm writing const a equal to, sorry, a equal to 10. Okay, I kept the debugger here. Sorry, one second. Let me try to edit again. One second. Const a equal to 10. Or let's do, okay. In this piece of code, I'm writing const. You can do it in the debugger also. Somehow it is not going to that line. So I said const a equal to 10. I kind of edited the code. Let me reopen it. One second here. I'm opening it with a server. Open with 5 server. Yeah, it is here. Now, if you go to inspect sources, so the reason you see a different set of sources is because we are using a default server of our, you're seeing a different workspace here altogether. The reason is it is opening using a default JavaScript server. You can see content scripts and all this. You can ignore all this, not a problem. We'll be focused on our page itself. Go to scripts, to do. Yeah, now I can see const a equal to 10. Now let us see what happens. Variable a is, I mean, the first line is a variable declaration. Okay. And again, I'm keeping the debuggers at each and every, function to understand the sequence. Okay. Now let's refresh it. देखते क्या हो. See, it came to line number 1. It didn't go to line number 147. Okay. So these classes are not declarations, so they don't execute it. Now let's see the next step. So this is first step, or you can see the first point that it came to. Now I clicked on the next, it came to do. Now what we will try to do is, after this step-by-step execution, what we will do is we will try to understand what is there in to do. So what is this declaration now? What is this way of writing is what we try to understand. So this is called instantiating. Means you said instantiation, the name itself indicates at this particular instant or at this particular context, what does this class exactly do? Or who is this class? See, the reason why I'm using the word who or what is because a class can represent an article, thing, or anything that you're seeing in the real world or some imaginary world. Okay, a lot of times it would be real world only because we try to solve real world problems with our code. So at this particular point of time, I'm talking about a to-do list. So I'm kind of instantiating it or beginning it. I'm creating one to-do list. There is only one to-do list if you observe. There are multiple tasks, but there is only one to-do list. Okay, so this is where I'm instantiating it, giving it a name. Okay, for example, if you do the same for a set of employees at a particular instance, you are initiating or instantiating employees means at that particular moment you talk about one employee. Okay, so this is the declaration for or the way you write.
Object creation, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, object creation, that is a programmatical word. Okay, but I'm yeah, you can call it as an object creation, but object in turn again is an instance of a class.
Yes.
Right? So you're instantiating it. Then you created a to-do list now. Now let's see what happens. See, it got instantiated. Till the time you instantiated, let's say there is no line. I mean, this line is not written. Line number 147. Then this code is just, this code doesn't make sense. So line number 8 to line number, I mean, till the end of this class, this doesn't make sense. It is just some static piece of information. It doesn't do anything. But once you instantiate it, then it starts its declarations. The first function that got called, it didn't go to anywhere in the middle, if you observe. It first created the tasks. See, look at the data type of tasks here. As I told you, tasks is an array, or if you want to watch it like a pro developer, you can go here, or you can go to your console and say this dot tasks. See, this dot task is now having two tasks. Why? Because it is picking. See, even if you see here, if you want to observe a value, you can simply do something. You can just select from, I just want to see what is the value of this JSON. Okay, see, it is in an orange colored box. The value of this particular thing is an array of objects. That is what it represents. This is an array of objects, array size 2. Inside the array, you have objects, as we already discussed about this. So your JSON parse is converting it. But if, let's say, if you want to see window.local.storage till here, it will be a string. This is the difference. This is what we were discussing before in the last class. The difference between your string and uh, object. Okay, so see, I'm printing it here just to make it even more clear how the parsing is happening. If I go here, I just want to see what is the value of what do you get from here. You see, you're getting a string. This is a string, but after conversion, if you look at again this dot tasks, it is an array. So this is the duty of our JSON.parse function. Now let's go to the next step. Completed is an array that got declared. Just hover on it, you will see length 0, empty array. Because the reason why you're creating an empty array is because eventually you're going to push some information to it. Means you're going to push completed tasks into this array and you basically utilize it somewhere. And all these property belong, you may ask, why are you not putting it as a global variable? Yeah, you can use it. You can definitely do it, but that is not a right way of coding. Means what I'm saying is I can write this dot completed or completed is equal to an array out of this class or put it in the first line. I can do it, but it becomes a global variable. It doesn't basically belong to the class. Okay, so it doesn't make sense. You're not establishing that relation between your class and the property. So by nature, every class should be associated with a property. Now you have, okay, to be done likewise, you created all this. See, it is just doing all the variable declarations. And then you can, and see this dot render. It is saying this dot render, this dot tasks. Okay, and now what is it rendering? If you see, this dot render is a function. And where is this function? This one, line number 19. So to refer to any functions, you use the word this. The functions that belong to this particular class, not in any other class. Okay, so you're passing an array, you're passing the tasks. Then it is, what is it doing? It is first saying this dot selected HTML element dot inner HTML is equal to empty. It is just clearing everything off. Now, what is this selected HTML element? That is the question. See, selected HTML element is nothing but my body. Document.body, in the sense we are referring to the HTML itself. Okay. And you're basically clearing everything in that particular piece of in that HTML, and then you're saying, you're calling one more function, add prompt form for add. See, now this is where things get interesting. Now the render is getting started. The next line number 21, if you see, this goes to add prompt form for adding tasks. Now let's see what happens. But before that, let's make sure this function is, there is a breakpoint inside this function here. I'm going to the next step. See, it came to, if you want to see the sequence, you can see it here. There is something called call stack. Where is it? This one. Now look at the sequence here. Okay, there we are. See, first, this is the sequence with which it got called. Some anonymous function called 147, then it went to 16, then it went to 21 to the render. And then, so call stack is nothing but, this is one of the very important concept in JavaScript. You need to understand what is call stack. Okay, practically this is how it looks like, and it basically talks about the sequence of steps or the functions that you wrote or the execution. But if you want to learn more, you can, there are a lot of blogs here, call stack JavaScript. It is a concept, just go through this concept once. It gives you, this is a very common interview question. Like, they may ask you what is call stack and things around it. Okay, they might give you some simple these kind of these kind of questions key, if you just embed one function inside it, what happens. So a lot of interview questions around this you can practice, but in practical sense, this is how it looks like. You can even talk about, see, in a debugger, you can look at the call stack. This is how you debug it. That basically impresses your interviewer even more, actually, because they will understand key, okay, this guy tried to do some practice, right, in real time. Okay, then yeah, so we are here, add prompt for adding tasks. So now add prompt form for adding tasks. So means what? You're basically creating a form, right? If you observe, this is the first function that we discussed. It is creating an input form. See, look at the left hand side. Now it is empty, means your selected HTML is empty. That function got executed. This one, we're talking about this, no? Line number 20. This got executed, your body became empty, and then it is going to it went to this function, Now see what happens. I'm going line by line execution. It created a button, it created some autofocus, then placeholder, then everything. And now see, you basically created some variables, you created some HTML, added some properties, you did all that stuff here. You basically created some part of HTML, an input form and buttons. You gave these buttons some name. You attached an event to it. All this activity is done here, and then you appended it to what? This dot selected HTML element dot append child. Now this is one new function that you came across. Append child means to the parent HTML, because see in if you look at, for example, if you look at this one, body is the parent. Inside this, you have a div. So the parent of this div is your body. The child of this body is your div. Likewise, you can embed your HTML elements I mean, you can keep on adding your HTML elements to other elements, right? So you will have multiple child elements. So when your code becomes complex, or I will probably give you one practical example. If you look at, let's say this, just look at this page. Okay, this page is having a heading, some nav bar here to just navigate, and then inside this you have some course scheme or a grid that got appeared. Okay, so this particular grid, see, a web page itself means you're basically organizing the information. That is the main thing. If you're designing something, or HTML page means what? You're organizing the information. So when you're trying to organize it, you should not spend, or you should not give more time or effort to your browser to organize things. You need to make it as simpler as possible to render this complete HTML. Okay, so essentially, if you take this particular division, or a part of element, you have an image, you have a title, some data, and then a button. So this complete information, if you want me to show you, just see, these are your parent elements. I'm inspecting it. Look at this. You have a course container. Observe the left hand side. You have a division. See, this division talks about all this list of courses. See, it is highlighting the portion. Then if you talk about one division, in that division, you have two child elements, 1, 2, and inside this child element, again, you have two elements, is what I see. Oh, sorry. Yeah. 3 actually. 1, what is this? And acha, there is some gap here. Likewise, you structure this. So you have parent class and child class. And append child is a function, and the duty of that function is to attach a child to your parent. That's what we try to do here. Okay, where is our thing? Okay, so to whom am I attaching it? I'm attaching it to the body. How am I saying that I'm attaching it to the body? By selected HTML element is, where is it declared? So this is how you debug. Where did you declare? You declare it here somewhere. Okay. And if you observe, selected element, HTML element is being passed as a parameter here. So what is the function of this and all, we will see. Okay. I mean, the reason why it is being passed as a parameter, probably somewhere this must be getting used. We'll see that. Okay. Now let's go with the sequence. So my button got created and my HTML element got created. Go to the next step. See, both got rendered here. Your input element and your button both got rendered. Next, step number 2. So where shall we go now? We are following this sequence. Add prompt form, The reason why I didn't come back is because I didn't keep the debugging point here, but here in call stack, you can see. Yeah, render got called. See here, the render got called, and then look at this query. Again, to-do list, render got called, then add search task button. So let's see what is doing. Yeah, let's move back to, yeah, actually we skipped this add search task button. The reason is I didn't keep any debugger points here. So that's the reason I couldn't see it. Here's somewhere add task button. If you go one by one, again, you can analyze it pretty much. So what we are doing here is you're creating a search element or a search button. You're creating a button element. Then you give a name to it, and then you're adding a click event. I mean, after clicking it means after clicking on search button, what should happen is what you're trying to do here. Okay. So there are a lot of things that are happening here. If you observe uh, this particular portion, this is completely your so search means what? You need to basically filter out things. Okay. So what exactly let me do one thing. For filtering, let's try to add some tasks and do this activity. Call home. I'm just trying to add some tasks. Get groceries. Okay. I added. Now I want to, now you want to see key how the search task is going to work. See, for the first time, whenever you're, if you look at the sequence, we are going in this sequence now from the beginning to the end, but for the first time, this function will not get called. It might get initiated, but it will not get called. It will just get rendered. That's it. Okay, I'll show you how. First, you need to render it, right? You need to show it on the UI. So this is that render function which takes care of it. The found tasks. This is one. And also the first time you need to add the button, right? So acha, the button is already created. Okay, the button is already created. So for the first time, it will not, see, this particular function will not get called. This lines from 114 to 137, I mean, just before this, all these lines of code will get executed only after doing a click event. If anyone clicks it, then it will happen. But initially, when you're loading the page, it doesn't. Okay, because you binded this click event. You said you're basically in line number 114, what you're saying is, see, if you observe, this complete portion is a function. From here to your arrow function, let me highlight it. From this part to somewhere in the, I mean, in the like, so, yeah, now it would be more clear. Yeah, from here till where does this, and I think, yeah, it gets ended here. If you observe, this is the bracket of the function. Okay, so this entire portion would get executed only if a click event happens. Till then it doesn't. Okay, now let's dive into how exactly this search thing is working. Okay, here we will cover multiple concepts and multiple function names. So I'm not going to dig deeper into each and every function, but you can browse the syntaxes and those things. Okay, but you understand the basic task here. If I, let's say, uh, you know, add a search task means if I write something like call, and click on search, then what will happen? The expectation is this function should get triggered. Let's see if that is happening or not. I clicked on it, see, it came here. Okay, now what you're trying to do is, there is one more function that we came across here. That is my, let me try to just minimize this. Need some room to, debug. And why isn't it working? Okay, let it be. Okay, so as soon as I clicked it, as I binded my search button to this event, click event, it came to this function. Inside this function, go to step number 2, look at the value of input. Input is your, means you are referring to your text box. This text box, you can see if I'm just focusing on it, it is pointing me to which text box am I talking about. And in that text box, I wrote the word call. I want to search for call, the letter call in my system or in my tasks. If I go to the next one, see, it is retrieving the input dot value, means what is the value inside that input text box, that is call. See, it got call. Now you assigned it to this dot search task. What is the task you're searching for? Okay, so the same functionality you can, I'm just giving you a small assignment, probably something to discover on your own. In your Google, it happens in a different way. You're writing everything and then clicking on something. So it is able to get the information called call. Now, if you're typing in Google or if you're searching for something on your Google search engine, for every key press, for every word that you enter, it is going to give you some suggestions. In that case, what happens? How is it happening is something that you need to discover. Try to understand various different code that is available on the internet and compare that code with this code. The only difference that you would identify is the event name. Here you are trying to understand or writing the event called click. But let's say the same thing should happen for every key down, key press, key up. There are actually events, JS or JavaScript key up event. Okay, on key up. What should happen on key up? Likewise, there are multiple functions like this. Key up, key down, key press. So these are few more events. Okay, you can discover more on these, and probably you can do some you can try to build some application which is just similar to your Google search. When you're typing something, it should basically give you what you are searching for. Okay, so this is just some conditional statements that you added here. Pretty straightforward logic. So you got the search task here, you're just searching. You're basically saying if it is not empty, what to do. If it is empty, it doesn't make any sense. You don't need to perform any activity. So these kind of null checks and empty variable checks are very important. So a lot of issues that you see after being a developer for quite some time in your role, you end up facing all these null pointer errors. So these kind of issues you need to avoid. So then you're checking the length of these tasks should not be empty. Obviously, you should have some tasks to check inside it. So if you observe, both both of this dot search task and this dot tasks belong to the same class. Somewhere or the other, they are declared in the same class but not outside. These are all properties of to-do list. Okay, so all the properties of to-do list or all the features of to-do list are being used inside to-do list. Okay, the reason why this is important is you might not realize the significance of it when you're coding at a very smaller level like this, but if you are beginning to develop a very big application, a single class might contain, I already mentioned this, single class might contain some thousands of parameters or some hundreds of functions. That could happen. Okay. Yes, Aditya, you're asking something.
Yeah. So I didn't understand the query selector is there, right?
Mhm.
The first statement, yeah. That
Ah.
one.
So this function, yeah, this is a straightforward function of JavaScript. So what it does is, query selector means in my document, means in my HTML, find out which HTML is which HTML element is having this class. Okay. So if you observe our input tag, you go here in elements, see, add
Okay.
mask input. So I want to select, actually good question. I should have mentioned this. I want to point to only one or take input from, see, sometimes you might have, what if you have multiple input text boxes? You need to point to one, isn't it? There could be a search box in your application. There could be and some input file form. So I need to point to a particular element. So query selector is used for it in order to select it. And the symbol dot is used if it is a class, if it is a ID, if you're referring through ID, then it would be a hash. Okay, go through understanding this query selector in your JavaScript documentation over W3 schools or something. You will try to get this thing. Okay, you'll understand. Likewise, you're checking for the task length, and then if you see here, this is one of the important function that you need to understand, that is filter. Filter, uh, dot filter, dot filter, and dot map. Sorry. These two are very important functions in your, not sorry. These three functions are very important, and these are mostly used on arrays. So as I mentioned before, most of the information transmission across various different web systems or your web applications over internet, the information would be structured most of the times in an array of objects format. That is a common format that you use because you need to group similar elements. Let's take Zomato. You will have a list of restaurants. Let's take Amazon. You will have a list of products or a list of users or a list of pricing. So likewise, most of the applications will have lists or a group of similar elements. And if you are talking about a single element, means obviously you define the features. And what is used to define features of a single element or a person or an article? Object again. So object for one thing, array for multiple things like this particular element that we are talking about. So most of the times you end up having array of objects. So to bring out information from these array of objects, or to understand or to retrieve information from these array, if you observe, we were looking at this JSON, right? One second. Yeah, look at this. If you look at this structure, let us say I want to print the value call home, for example. Okay. And where is it? See, for example, I want to say this dot tasks. Okay. Now let's say understanding these data structures is little uh, tricky. Let's say I want to print call home. I want to retrieve this word or a set of words. I would say this dot tasks. As this is an array, I will take element 0 or the first element. This is a basic array notation, right? Dot, let's say text. Then I have call home. So there are multiple. This is a very easiest notation actually in JavaScript. In other programming languages, it is little typical or tough. So this is straightforward. Now let us say I want to print. This is an array, right? Now let us say I want to print all the list of text. Then what I can do is I need to write a loop or something, right? Something like this dot tasks dot map, something like this. Okay, map is such function. I'll explain you in detail or how exactly this map works. But yeah, map, reduce and filter. All these are used on arrays, especially those arrays which are having list of objects inside them. Of course, you can use them on any array, but yeah. Sometimes here in this case, if you observe in our instance, you need to filter something. Okay, you need to filter or you need to find out some text or a piece of text which matches with your search criteria or the text. Okay, so in that case, how exactly this filter works? Okay, um, look at this like a single line. Don't worry. Look at this like a single line and don't try to understand. This is regex regular expressions. We'll come to this later. But yeah, so essentially what happens here is I'm keeping a debugger here. Now let's try to understand practically and then we'll come to the syntax. I think this test passed. If you see, if I highlight what is the output of this comparison, see it says it is true. Means that condition got true. Now, if you go to the next step, again this got true. You can hover on it and see. If of true, it goes into it inside the if condition. And then let's say now see. Now what happened here is if you break down this syntax, it is written like this. You said this dot, let me clear this for you. You wrote like this. This dot tasks dot filter. You started your function. Okay. And then inside that function, you wrote a function again, if you see. So this is the place where you tend to get confused. See, we spoke about arrow functions. This is one of the main reason arrow functions are invented, to make your life easy or to make the syntax look smaller. Means what? Now you may ask, why should I write a function inside another function? So there could be some instances where you pull some data out of this array. This is an array, right? And on the top of that data, you want to perform some action. Again, action means what? Some work or some task that I need to do. And you represent tasks with your functions. And by default, the syntax, the function filter, which is an inbuilt function again, it is an inbuilt function of your JavaScript. The syntax of it is whenever you write an arrow function, it takes one of the tasks inside it. Okay. Means at one point of time, this is just like your loop. You write f for I equal to 0, I uh, uh, I plus plus, you increment it, all that loops. I don't want to go back to that, but it's just looping. At For the first time it refers to the first task, second time the second element, third time the third element, likewise. Okay. And you can play around with this task. Let's say I want to say key console.log of task. I just want to print it, for example. Now see what happens. Okay, I missed one argument here. Missing is not okay. This.tasks.
Parenthesis close it.
Acha, okay, sorry. Close this and then close this. See, I have these two tasks and I got an empty array here. Okay, I'll tell you why. So, but essentially what's happening is it is taking inside your tasks. For the first time, it printed your first task, and the second time it printed it. Let's say I want to, let me reiterate again. Task dot text. Inside this tasks, again, I want to go to text. See, it just printed call home and get grocery. These are my task names. And let's say I repeat the same for is completed. Sorry. And I have false. Okay. So it's pretty simple. If you want to perform any particular task on or any particular action inside some object, then you are going to do this. So the application that we are using here is I want to filter out which matches with my text. Okay. So here, what we are trying to do is I take one task at once and then I'm going to, let me just minimize this. Yeah. So the first thing that you're doing here is you're taking one task. Now let's see what is the task that it is referring to for the first time. So I'm going to skip the debugger just to understand the next iteration. So the expectation is there are two tasks, right? So this particular filter function, as it is a loop, it is going to loop again, right? For the first time, it refers to task number one, that is call home. So I'm running it. For the second time, it came again, and my task name is get groceries now. Likewise, it iterates into each and every element. Each and every element will be sent inside this whole thing, and then it executes it, tries to do whatever you basically wrote here, and then it comes back. Now, what is the catch here? What exactly this filter does is we'll try to understand. Now, what is our problem? I want to just find out key if there is any. Let me run this first. See, I just clicked on call. I wrote call and I clicked on search task. Now, what is displaying? Call home is getting displayed, right? If I delete this and write get, it is giving me get groceries. Means what? If you observe, we are just trying to uh, filter out something, or we are checking something. Checking something means you're taking a decision. So there is a decision maker inside it somewhere. Now we'll try to understand what is a decision maker, or you're checking some condition inside it, whether it is matching with the word that I entered or not. If it is matching somewhere, then fine. Okay. Now, how are you going to search? How are you performing that activity? We will try to understand. Now let's come back. Let me try write call and click on search task. See, it came to our function. Next step, next step, next step. It came inside my array. Now the task is, if you see, my task is call home. Okay. See, I'm going to break all these lines into simple piece. Okay. So essentially here, if you see, just try to get these two parts. That is enough. This entire thing is regex. It is little advanced JavaScript. You don't need to worry about it. We'll come back to this later. This task dot text dot lowercase. Here it basically converts your text into lowercase. You're replacing it with something, normalizing it with something, replacing, you're doing some activity. And finally, you're using one function called includes. Okay, this is one JavaScript function. This is one JavaScript function. These are all default JavaScript functions actually. And then inside includes function, you're writing this dot search task. Searched task is the one that you're searching for. That is call. Okay. So what you're doing is tasks, you're taking task text dot, forget about all this. Okay. We'll come back to this later. And take this dot includes. Task dot text includes, or let me write it somewhere else. Task dot text dot includes dot or of what? Search task. Okay. What is task text? Task text is your, so you're doing this thing here. This dot text dot includes, you're doing some processing there, includes of this dot searched task. This is what you're doing. All the other complex stuff that you're seeing, it is just it is just some data manipulation. Okay. So this is what you're doing. Now, what is this function? See, whenever you see parenthesis before a word, it is a function. Okay. So now what is this function includes? We'll try to understand. So this talks about includes JavaScript. What does it do? Let's go to our favorite W3 schools. See, look at this syntax. There is a text. Hello world, welcome to universe. Text dot includes this means, then what would be the result? Let's look at this example. Let's run it. It is going to print true. I'll show you. It is not that comprehensive. See, I'll show you here. Let me put it in the debugger and show you. See, I have a text hello world, welcome to universe, and then you have text dot includes. See now, let me print result. Oh, right. Something is wrong. Ah. Let me log it. Okay, the runtime isn't working. True. The value of result is true. Means what? Includes, what does it do is, if something in a string, in a simple string, it would just identify whether a word is existing or not. That's it. It doesn't do anything. It just returns, or it just gives you whether it is true or false, whether it is there or not. As simple as that. That's what you did. You may ask why you did this lowercase and all these conversions. The reason why you're doing these conversions is you're basically normalizing everything. Sometimes I might enter some capital letters, right? In those cases, your includes doesn't work. But if I'm trying to search something, I want to do it whether it is a capital letter or small letter, doesn't matter. So uh, I don't want to dig deeper into all these functions. Try to just discover about these, but includes is pretty important. So yeah, and one more thing. The important thing here is, now once you execute this whole thing, I'm going to next line. See, I came to this line. Now this is a single line. This dot task dot text dot includes whether your search task is here or not, is what you're checking. Look at the value of this. Let me try to print the value of this whole thing. Let's see what does it return. Lowercase, need to close it here. See, it returns what? True. Okay. Means, in other words, the code that you wrote was this dot tasks dot filter. I want to filter out Again, you wrote a function inside it. You sent a task inside it. There is one catch here, I will explain. And then you simply wrote this dot task. I don't think you need to write task. Sorry. No, task is the right. You don't need to write this. I'll tell you. You don't need to write this dot task. You can just, sorry, my bad. Task dot text dot includes of this dot searched task. Okay, this is what you did. All right. Now let's break this line into, because understanding this kind of syntax is very important in JavaScript. Most of the people face challenges here. Okay, let's try to get this done. Or let me try to. So this is a function, an arrow function till here. 1 second. I'll try to format this a little. See, there are multiple concepts covered in these lines. Lot of concepts. Concept number 1, this. The reason why you are using this is because this dot tasks is an instance here in our code. This is the first one, instantiation. Second, dot filter can be applied on an array. This dot, the data type of this dot tasks is array. You can refer to the code why it is an array. We already talked about this. Output of JSON parse is an array. On top of an array, you're implementing a filter, and inside the filter you have a callback function. Okay, so normally every function, this is basic programming, every function will have a return value. It returns something, it gives you out something. Okay, for example, in JavaScript, let's say I wrote var a equal to a function that says return 1, and this function ends here. Now what happens is return the value 1 here gets returned to a, means the value of a becomes 1. If you want to look at it like a normal program or a program without your arrow function, a equal to function, you can assign functions to variables in JavaScript. A function, and you can write return 1. Means you're not doing anything, you're just returning some value. Then a becomes 1. Similarly, this and this both are same. Now the catch is, even if you don't write return, by default in your arrow functions, the value will be returned and assigned back to a. Let us say here, in this case, you said p equal to 1 plus 2. Now let's try this out. Okay, let's try a very simple arrow function. We open it here. I'm opening it in a different debugger. I'm saying var a equal to, or let const, you can use anything, equal to, I'm writing an arrow function 1. I'm just writing 1, that's it. Not doing anything. Now see, this entire value became 1. Okay. Now let's say var a equal to, in the above statement, a is basically a function. If you see return 1, it is again one function. But the filter function that you have here, this entire, the value of this, you're passing one task, and as we observed here, the value of includes either return, if the text is having the text that you're trying to search for, then it returns true. If not, it returns false. Okay. Now this entire function returns true. This whole thing returns true in the first iteration, because I'm searching for call. Call matches with it, so it returns true. Now, what happens if it returns true is the question. Okay. Now here, what you did was, yeah, sorry, there is one more thing here. You wrote it like this dot found tasks is equal to, you wrote it like this. Means the output of this filter function, see, just try to look at how many functions we used here in a single stretch. This is a string. This is a inbuilt function. This whole thing is a string again. This is an object, because every element inside tasks is an object. It sends one object at once inside the filter. Filter is again a function or an inbuilt function. This task is an array. Now, what is this? What would be the data type of this? To understand, now the question is, what exactly will come under your found tasks? To understand it, you need to understand the syntax of the filter function. Let's go there. Sorry. Dot filter in JavaScript. Okay, this is your array filter method. Pretty straightforward. This is a conventional way of writing your code, but here we wrote the same code actually, but we didn't use our function. This is one way of writing it. Okay, this is very interesting. Conventional code. Oh yeah, I think this would be a better example for us. See now, let's try to understand result. What is result here? 32, 33, and 40. I'm checking for age that is above 18. Okay. So your filter basically gives you out that array which does match with the condition. This is the condition. And if you observe, you're writing this condition inside the filter function, check adult. Now, essentially what happens is your execution works like this. Your ages get declared, as soon as you come to this line, first it executes checkadult for each and every age. First 32 goes in checkadult. Okay, it checks. It either returns, see, this is again a conditional statement, greater than or equal to, double equal to, triple equal to, not equal to. These are all signs. I'm just covering it at a single stretch. Includes is just one thing that we saw, includes function. So there are functions and conditional operators that give either true or false. That's it. In this case, it returns true. Okay. Now let us say 32 checkadult, it came to 32 every time. For the first time, first iteration, the value is 32. Is it greater than 18? Yes, it returns true. Second, 33, it is true. Third, 16, not true, false. If it is false, your result will not consist of the array or the element 16. See, 16 is missing here. Okay. So for whichever condition it is passed, then it works. Let me do one thing. So here in this example, he used, or this person used, conventional way of writing the code, or the older way, the ES5. It is ES5 JavaScript, not ES6. Okay, but you can convert the same code. Let's say I want to convert the same into ES6. I can just write the same const result is equal to ages dot filter. Okay. Now see, compare the code which is above and below. In the place of checkadult is a function, isn't it? It is a function. It is declared as a function here. Here. An arrow function and curly braces. Now you're passing age into it, right? This age is being passed here. Here. I'll simply write age. That's it. Just write age. Sorry, 1 second. That's it. And add your condition, return age greater than or equal to 18. You're done. See how much code got saved. This is one way of writing. I'll show you another way. You can say, this is one way. Okay, let's execute it. Let's see if this is working or not. See, same out. Oh, sorry. Return age. 1 second. Acha. Sorry, my bad. This doesn't return. Okay, can use this. Why is this? Okay, let's check why this is not returning. Where we went wrong. Age is greater than or equal to 18. Close the braces. And close this. Acha, sorry, my bad. I displayed. Okay. I was printing ages. You need to print result. Okay, the same output. Both got the same output, and your code got reduced a lot. Okay, this is how your filter works. So I think we'll stop here today and try to explore. So map also functions like the same dot map and dot reduce. You can do it as a research activity today, and we'll catch up in the tomorrow's class. Any questions?
All right, well, good.
Okay, cool then. Thanks everyone for joining.